Now we will talk about how to troubleshoot call processing on Expressway. One of the way we saw, like some ways are using logs or search details, search history. Yeah. So Expressway offers various tools to help you troubleshoot these related issues with complex dial plans, especially many users and proper operation to allow the identification of the issues and to resolve them. So Expressway includes various tools that help you to identify those issues. So first is this one that we just saw. So Expressway manages calls between locally registered endpoints, between locally registered and their neighbors, and between different neighbors. So each endpoint registered to Expressway with an alias that the endpoint uses on which it is reachable. And you can check with the alias which are registered on Expressway on the web page here. So each endpoint should be able to contact any alias that is listed in the Expressway. So when an alias is not found locally, Expressway will then check its neighbor or any other destination in the different zone, like DNS zone or E.164 format zone that is used for E.164 standard numbers. So before a call is placed, the endpoint that is must be located. Expressway sends and receives a series of messages during this attempt, which creates these logs. So each of these messages is known as a search message. So the type of search message is sent depending on whether the call is for SIP or H323. So based on their processing and the message types, the different search messages and the logs will be created. So whether the call request was received locally or from an external zone. So you can search history for each call on Expressway. So in the search history, it is based on each call. The search history will show you the summary of in the form of a list of the most recent searches up to 255 searches by default. Yeah, that can take place since the Expressway server was last restarted. So since that time, up to 250 searches at the moment, the current searches can be seen. So when you select the call from search history, these are the detailed information you can see. So you can find subzones, zones that you have searched. You can find the call path, and you can see any transforms or SIP variant if used, and if there was any policy, any admin policy or user policy. Uh, so if any policy was used, you can find it in the search history. So this is one of the tool for troubleshooting we can use. Another is a locate tool. So in the Expressway series, both Expressway E and C, we can use a locate tool on Expressway web page. So this tool runs the Expressway location algorithm to locate the endpoint that the given alias identifies, and this and it searches locally on the neighbors and on systems that are discovered through DNS systems. So various information we can uh, provide here on the basis of which we want to do some monitoring. So under maintenance tools locate, we can find it. This is the path. So next we can provide an alias that you want to locate, maximum number of hops to allocate to the alias, that the target alias should be how many hops away at a maximum. Then source protocol that you want to use, say HTTP3, source of the call from which the call search request should go, and relevant if the routing process uses CPL, if you're using it in CPL script for any policies to be created. So you can add it from there in this space. And lastly, you can see at the bottom some search results with the detailed information. This is another tool. So when you use a locate tool in Expressway, it will initiate a search as if the endpoint has initiated a call, but without actually placing a call to that endpoint. So to use this tool, you can set all these parameters to initiate the search. So as per, so it is like you can modify your own search history here. So the default one was the previous one, so it has a dedicated redefined format. So all those information that you can see here, and in locate, you can use as per your information that you require, maybe alias, hop count, protocol, source, authentication, any policies, and so on. Next is interworking. Now, this is by default in Expressway. It does not allow SIP to HTTP3 calls because interworking is disabled by default, but you can enable it for HTTP3 and SIP interworking. So it's recommended to use in in case you have different endpoints with HTTP and SIP. So interworking will be then responsible for interconnecting calls using different protocols. Here, only two are supported. So you can check that in the search history to see if Expressway tried to find an endpoint with both protocols. If that is the case, you would see that under the traversal zone, traversal subzone, because that is responsible for interworking. Then there are some other troubleshooting tools we can use, like some log types, one of which we saw as event log. So event log and diagnostic logs. So you can go through these. These logs contain most of the information for troubleshooting tasks, for call setup, registration type logs, user login related issues. So if any user is trying to log in and is not able to log in, can find out from the event log what was the reason of this login failure, call setup issues, registration, all that. So we have event log by default, for which the level is set to 1. We can change that from the maintenance, and the maximum level can be up to 4. So the more detailed log you want, we can change the uh, level of the event log from here, from maintain, in case you're not able to find the problem from the event log. So we can change the level from there. Then we have logging levels of, like I showed you, it is called, which I just mentioned. This is called log verbosity, which you will find under maintenance. Then again, this is part of troubleshooting. So in case of troubleshooting, you would want to make changes to these in case you are not able to find it. So in maintenance logging page, you will find this just on the top, local event log verbosity setting, and you can change that from default 1 to in 11 up to 4. And you can go through your expressway by changing these verbosity, and then see how detailed log you will find and how much more information you can see. Then we have diagnostic log as part of another type of log for troubleshooting in status when you will find. This is another important tool on Expressway for diagnostic, and it allows you to generate a diagnostic log of the system activity over a period of time. So you can set and select a period of time up to which you want to see the diagnostic log, and then you can download that file, and you can either look into it for advanced fault finding, or if you want to send it to Cisco TAC to help resolve any issues. So that is diagnostic log that will allow you to take a TCP dump file that you can use for troubleshooting. So again, for diagnostic logging, you can have different logging level set depending on what type of fault you are trying to diagnose. So for example, if you are troubleshooting a SIP connection issue, then you can set the logging level to SIP messages to a higher level and maintain. Yeah, so these are some troubleshooting tools we use. Usually like event logs, locate tool for customized logs, diagnostic logs. And in diagnostics, this is for like the advanced troubleshootings, and when we have to raise any Cisco TAC support request and send them diagnostic, which is a complete diagnostic for a certain period of time that we can select and download file from there. Yeah, then we have something called full system snapshot, which is like the complete expressway system snapshot in case you're not able to find anything within the logs or configuration and anything, and you want to take a full snapshot of your entire expressway so that you will be able to either find it from there, from the full snapshot, or you can send it to Cisco TAC. Usually we use it to send it to Cisco TAC when it's a very critical issue and we are not able to find the fault anywhere. So we would want you to send a full snapshot so that they can look through it, the entire expressway. So it is a full system snapshot of expressway, which is used to capture all system information of the server. And we send it to Cisco TAC to recreate the server in some cases, to try to reproduce any faults that you have reported to them. A full snapshot should be run at the request only of that. Otherwise, it causes system or service interruptions in the ongoing communications in Expressway. So note of that. So running the full snapshot takes a lot of time. It takes several minutes, and then it can impact the server performance. So it should be done at the off hours. And this full snapshot we can find from maintenance diagnostic system snapshot. And there you will find an option to create full snapshot. You can create it from there. So it takes usually like in expressways like us, and then it depends on how much configurations you have in an expressway, but it takes something from 5 minutes to about in the lab environment. So these are some troubleshooting tools that we can use in case we have to find any faults and so on. Next is about backup and restore. So after you have finished expressway configuration or you put expressway into production, you should create regular backups. So if there is a database corruption or any other expressway outage, you can easily use your backup files to restore all the necessary information, the configuration of expressway. So use the backup and restore page for that to create backup files of expressway data and to restore expressway to previously saved configuration. So we can find backup and restore information also. That is one of the feature we can find. We can have system configuration settings, clustering configuration, local authentication data, call detail records. We can exclude some files here, which are Active Directory credentials, log files, and so on. These we can perform here. You can choose maintenance and backup and restore to create it, and then your password. You would require a password for backup and restore. Then once you have entered password, you will get an option to create system backup file. The Expressway series will then allow you to create and restore system configuration settings, clustering configuration, local authentication data. All these information can be the part of the backup files, call detail records, uh, and by default, it does not include the Active Directory credentials and log files. So and as a best practice for backup and restore, you should perform regular backups of the system so that your data is updated in case you need to perform a backup restore. So you should create a backup before performing an upgrade or a system restore if you want to go back to the previous configuration. So it is always good to have a backup there. So Cisco recommends that always encrypt backup files in particular because they include sensitive information like authentication data. So when you use backup and restore on Expressway, you need to consider some rules like backups can only be restored to a system that is running the same version of software. That is one thing as a prerequisite. Yeah. So backups can only be restored to a system running the same version of software to which the backup was made. You can create a backup on the expressway and restore it to a different expressway also, but you must install the same option keys for that on the new system that were present on the old one. Also, if expressway is configured to use cryptographic modes, that is one of the way of encryption, then you cannot restore it with a backup which is made on a different system or different cryptographic mode. So that should be the same, so that you can restore using the same cryptographic method. And if administrator account password is used in the current expressway, and that is different than the one in the backup file, you will have to use the old password to just recover it. So that we got something in case of backup and restore. Uh, to create the backup and restore, you will find it under maintenance, backup restore. You can create an encrypted password. You can create system backup file from there, and then you can restore from here as well under restore section whenever you want to take a restore. So also you have to do a factory reset. This reset is done by executing a factory reset command on the Expressway CLI when we are doing a factory reset. The action this will remove all the configuration and revert the system to its original state. Then you can do a restore. That is something before you do a restore. And when you have a clustered expressway environment, you need to first remove the expressway peer from the cluster so that it becomes a standalone expressway. And then you have to follow the same procedure, do a restore, and then build a new cluster again. So these are some configurations and backup and restore steps. So